City right now, Midtown at AM 1030, KVOI, The Voice.
Wake up, Tucson, with Joe Higgins and Christy Simone on 1030 KVOI, The Voice.
You can burn my clothes when I'm gone. Lord. Oh, you can tell your friends just what a fool I've been and laugh and joke about me.
Nothing better than achy breaky for John Brakey. Good morning, John.
Good morning. It's a pleasure being here.
John, what is the organization you're a part of that is trying to bring some sort of integrity to the election process, not just here, but nationwide?
Nationally, I work with Progressive Democrats at the Election Integrity Commission, that
right.
I'm part of. I'm also at the Election Defense Alliance, which is national. I belong to quite a few groups across the country. Locally, we formed a group in 2004 called AUDIT-AZ, which stands for Americans United for Democracy, Integrity, and Transparency. Our newest coalition is called COVE, and because my last one was called CARE, and it was against, Citizens Against Rigged Elections, and we decided we wanted to be for something. So COVE stands for Citizens for Oversight for Verifiable Elections.
Now, what acronym king?
Right. What was the spark? When did this start for you? What was why this issue? Why have you made this your passion? You're just a regular citizen like the rest of us. You're not. This is not your background. It has become since you got fired up. But what was it that started this for you?
2004, I caught him. It was pretty freaky. I was a cluster captain. I had four precincts.
A little closer.
I had 4 precincts on the south side of town. It was west of Mission, south of Valencia. I was getting the vote out, and I caught him. I couldn't believe it. I was picking up the reports. I put a computer program together, because I'm pretty good on computers, to get the vote out. And as I was doing that, I found that they were playing with the provisionals. In my particular
provisionals are the early or the
provisional ballots, and they were tricking people. And it was a very unique thing that I found.
Yeah.
So I spent.
Now, who's they?
They would be the poll workers in this precinct, and they were tricking people to vote provisionals. And they had 4 people traveling through, and they're stuffing the box to balance out. Because if there was an audit, they would say audit this precinct because we hacked everything else. And it was just an incredible story. And that was 2004. Then 2006 happened.
That's the big one that you popped on our radar because it was the RTA vote.
Yeah.
We had tried 5 times to do a regional transportation package. This was the first time in 5 it got passed. And you had wanted an audit of some of the precincts, and you got into this discussion, and what happened?
Well, what happened on the RTA, and where we really came on our, we were watching the Oro Valley election, part of that. I was watching very carefully, and that day I was running around, and I found that the machines were breaking down all over the place. Okay?
These are Diebold's.
The Diebold machines, and they were the precinct scanners is what they were. And so I called up Ted Downing, and I sent him into the election department. Hey, could you go in there?
He was a state legislator at the time.
Yeah, that's right. And he went in there, and he's looking around, describing what he found. And he found Brian Crane looking at a manual, and that manual was the Microsoft Access Manual.
Who's Brian Crane?
Brian Crane was the programmer for the department, and he built the database.
For Pima County?
For Pima County Elections.
So these Diebold's count ballots, and it goes into an Access database. And if you understand how to change database, yes to no, no to yes, or how the data's coming in, you could manipulate.
And that's what we caught. Okay, they took the early votes the first day. They counted 13,000 in less than 4 hours. The next morning, Brian came in. He reloaded the database and crushed all the old data, which you never do. I've never seen it in all their databases. And then he printed election summary report to see if the numbers were right. He also had a computer program a machine they bought, that the only job of it was to go ahead, load the memory cards in there. And if I can step back, Huckleberry had paid a guy $75,000 to analyze the previous 3 RTA elections because the theft was done by precinct. 78% of the vote in that election was at the precinct. In this election, 80% will be in the vote by mail.
Okay. Because we've done the mail-in more, and we're not
Flipped
going
over.
Okay. Right.
Okay. If you looked in 2006 and you look today, it's just the opposite. Where they are going to steal with impunity is in the vote by mail, and they've already set the process up.
Okay, so now 2006, you've had Attorney General investigations. Who controls the ballots? We've stored them for a long period of time. You've gone to court with Bill Reisner. You've taken this thing to the mountain. And what is the final?
Filmed every bit.
Yeah, and you did a documentary called Fatally Flawed.
Fatally Flawed,
which
yes.
talks about these Diebold's and these access to databases and crop scanners and all kinds of goofy stuff.
Very
so we've
goofy.
covered this a lot with you guys.
Yes,
we've had you guys
over
on.
the years.
They try to discredit you as conspiracy theorists and barking up wrong trees.
We get the same thing from Chuck, so don't worry about it.
You know what I really am, don't you?
What
What's
are
that?
you?
I'm a conspiracy factualist. I deal in facts.
That's
reasonable.
I was
isn't
thinking about that movie Conspiracy Theory with Mel Gibson.
Yeah, I saw that.
Right, and everyone says he's nuts, but everything he said that they thought he was nuts, he actually turned out to be right in the end.
it? Yeah, I remember the movie vaguely. Yes.
Vaguely.
Yes.
So, what happened in 2006? Is it over? Is it done? Is that?
Well, we won 3 court cases, and then we wanted to present the evidence in court, and the judge said that he couldn't see it. We appealed. We won the appeal. They appealed us winning the appeal. We won that. Okay. Then we were sent back to Tucson. We spent 8 more months trying to get this thing to a jury. Okay. And the judge booted it out again.
Wow.
This time, what they did is they pulled a trick. One of the judges on Division II court retired. And when he retired, he hung his shingle with a guy named Bearcliff who used to be, he wanted to become a judge. He quit the Republican Party as a precinct committeeman. He wrote Paul Diggins and said, hey, I have to quit. I can't have any conflict. Well, 10 days later, he came back to the Republican Party and said, I'm here to aid you to make sure we get rid of these evil people, Brakey and Reisner and this conspiracy. We have to stop this. And he worked with Benny White.
Oh, yeah, remember this? He wrote the letter, the brief that said, nothing to see here, please move along.
Yeah, and that's the brief meant nothing.
Right.
The brief caused a conflict, and it booted us out of Division II into Division I. Once we got into Division I, one of the judges happened to be Terry Goddard's chief of staff, who now became a judge, and they killed it.
And Terry Goddard was the AG,
and they killed it
during the original 2006 RTA when it got elevated to his office.
That's great.
I am
That's amazing.
Progressive, populist Democrat, and I emphasize Democrat last. And Terry Goddard, I have no respect for him at all.
Isn't it amazing?
Covered up twice the case. It's all documented.
This is the guy who keeps walking around about he's the champion against secret dark money.
Right.
Yeah. Right. I love it.
So we're going to run to break. That takes us to today because you were observing something. Because now you're hyper vigilant. You're like, gosh, it's so hard to beat him when we catch him or when there's a problem at the end. Let's watch it on the front end to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Very, very important. It's easier to prevent a stolen election than to catch a couple of people who've done something horrible, fight in a corner like wild animals with our tax money.
It's only $1 billion.
I mean, maybe $9 million to $10 million trying to defeat us. $3 million was in attorney fees and cost. Then they had to build a new facility, which I call election theater.
790-2040 is the phone number. wakeuptucson@gmail.com. We're on with John Brakey, AUDIT-AZ, and 14 other acronyms I can't even remember right now. COVE.
CARE. EDA.
But he was there. He caught it on video. A little shenanigans at the Pima County Elections. All the news stations covered it overnight. So
it's only $1 billion, Chris. I mean, what are we all worried about?
Well, the last one was only $2 billion.
It's only $2 billion. The prior.
The last one, yeah.
Wake Up Tucson, 10:30 Voice.
You know we've got to find a way to bring some love in here.
Shining a light on backroom politics and the good old boys. It's Wake Up Tucson with Joe Higgins and Christy Simone on AM 1030 KVOI, The Voice.
You see, war is not.
You can't believe everything you read, but you can believe Wake Up Tucson. Morning 6 to 8 on AM 1030 KVOI, The Voice.
7:49 in the morning. If you were watching your Facebook, your news, or whatever, you saw an image of a Pima County Elections worker next to a machine, and this man, John Brakey, sitting between Joseph and I, is the man who captured it on video. So walk us through briefly how it all went down yesterday.
Well, let's start off with the picture was taken the day before.
Day before.
Okay. And I did the logic and accuracy test there, filmed it. Then, analyzed all the equipment, looked at things, asked questions. I went home, I did a report, and I got home around 11. I turned my TV on, and then I programmed it that I could watch the election department. So then I'm sitting there and I'm writing.
So there's a live camera in the election room?
Oh, yeah, there is.
Okay.
It's a live feed. Anybody can watch it.
Okay.
It's not advertised,
All right.
but it's something that I worked with Jack Hopper back in 1998 and others
Right.
that we had installed all across, and that way I could be anywhere and watch.
Right. Smart.
And so anyway.
So you're drinking a cup of coffee, you're working on your
Well,
report.
I got the report done, and I was pretty depressed because the report really showed me that they had subverted the whole system and that they're planning to go ahead is run early ballots, and these machines are standalone, and then they want to upload them real quick to the central tabulator. Okay, and that's where they do the calculations. The standalones only make images and collect the data. That's what I like about them. That's dumb technology.
Right.
Okay? That means you can load these things and nobody can get the numbers out. And in Maricopa County, they take that and they use a thumb drive, and election day, they go in and say, now people, we're going to format this thumb drive, we're going to stick it in here, and then we're going to watch me walk it over to the central tablet and load it. Well, that's called a soft shoe network.
Okay.
They've hooked up a wire network, which is fine. But, after you do the logic and accuracy, I want that wire disconnected. I want it taped up and the public to see that it's not connected. Because I don't want you moving those results until 5 o'clock election night. Okay?
Right.
Now, I want you to know the new machinery counts 28,000 ballots per hour. Okay? That means this whole election could be counted in 6 hours. But, of course, they want to count 6 days out. Because I'm predicting that Huckleberry last night got the results.
Absolutely.
And I think that what I caught at 3:03, when he broke the seal, which was sealed by the parties, and it was not supposed to be open till the next morning till the parties were present, okay, that they were switching databases and prepping the other one, which already has a formula in it, that every so many votes, I want the results on this one to be 51-49, I want this one to be 60-40.
Now, what if it was just a mistake and a guy that's been there for 10 years and accidentally cracked the seal and opened something with the observation?
You've been there 10 years, and you know all about Bill Reisner, John Brakey, Mickey Donahoe, a whole crew of people who helped build the protocol, the Election Integrity Commission, which has these protocols, and by accident he breaks it. Do you want to buy that one? I got a bridge I can sell you.
And who's Mickey Donahoe? We had him on the show, remember? He was like
Mickey
CIA
worked,
or something?
No, he was NSA for 37.
Right?
He was one of 50 people in the United States who was a master programmer.
Right, and he was on the show and he resigned, right? Because
he was a Ray Carroll appointee,
right.
And he got pissed off that Ray and the other three of the other supervisors voted against what again?
They voted against. We knew that the vote by mail you can steal with impunity. We passed through the commission that after the election, 2 precincts would be selected and hand sorted by precinct, and then that would be validated. And if you did that after the election, a hacker would know where you're going to pick. And so what have you done? You've done something very good. You made him paranoid.
Right.
Because paranoia is a good thing to have if you're
correct.
a thief.
So when
impunity is not a good
so when the
thing.
board of supervisors, and then Ray, his own guy who appointed him, voted against that.
Yeah.
That's when Mickey said, he wrote him a letter and said, "Are you crazy? I got to quit. You guys are just lost your mind."
He was on the commission for 7 years.
Yep.
Okay.
NSA.
And
So your point is we're counting these things early, which we really should count them the morning of the election.
Yeah.
Throw them all in, run them through. You got hours to
exactly.
do it. Because you're counting them early, there's a lot of opportunities to get a hold of datas and thumb drives and wires and pieces and flips and all that stuff. So you're saying, look, guys, just count them right.
Yeah. I'm saying if you're going to count early, don't move the data to the central tabulator until 5 o'clock election day.
So are you saying that Chuck and these guys pretty much do you think they're getting it from the day that early ballots start coming in?
That's the pattern that I've identified over since 1998 through 2006. I can show you report after report that the first third of the election, they print after the first day of vote counting a report, and then a day later they print another one. Okay? Then they don't print anymore until the magic hour. 1 hour after the polls close, then you're allowed by law to print.
But
That's
they know.
the pattern.
So at the worst case, you know immediately where you're trending.
Yes.
So if you're for the bonds and they're losing, you can throw a bunch of money and you can get all crazy
Of course.
for marketing.
Football scores,
At the worst case,
like to have those scores for Sunday?
King, right?
Yeah.
Right. At the worst case, is there's manipulation going on in the database. Say I'm losing, I'm going to flip the.
We know in the
algorithm.
RTA that's a fact. Okay? Now, on this one, what did I catch? I caught him breaking into the machine. And by the way, after the guy broke in, Brad Nelson walked into the room. I can't know what he said.
Brad Nelson's the head of election for Pima County.
Yeah. And then he talked to the guy, and then he started spinning around in his chair like he was really happy. And then I kept saying, Karen Schutte should be walking out. She must be there.
She's an observer for the Republican Party.
Or Barbara Tillman's got to walk. They got to be there. And then I realized they weren't. I jumped in my truck, I went to the election department, and then I went to the door. It was locked. The door you go through is the public access. Then I saw Brad Nelson with a couple of the guys way on the east side of the building. I said, Mr. Nelson, I need to talk to you. And I said, is there something wrong with your video feed? And he says, no. And he explained to me how it worked. Then I took out my smartphone and I held it up and I said, do you see this? That's a picture of your guy breaking into the server. There's something really wrong here, or your video has video from the other day. And he goes, what? He acted surprised. Now, he was in the room after the guy did it, and you see the machine open, okay? And the guy, you can see the program being worked on, okay? And so then he says, meet me out by the observer door. I'll be out in a few minutes. He kept me there 25 minutes. He was inside calling Barbara Tillman, the observer, Karen, saying, hey, guys, my guy made a mistake. We got to do the whole logic. He's prepping. Mm-hmm. Then 25 minutes later, he comes out, looks like a little puppy dog, and says, gee, John, you were right. I'm really sorry. We're going to redo the logic and accuracy. And I said, gee, this is nice. And we shook hands first time in like 12 years. I want you to know that.
Right,
okay?
right.
And I said, Brad, we need to work together and make this a good election. I have some severe problems. I just finished a report I call the 256 after I got the 303 picture. We need to sit down and talk. And we went inside, and I laid out all the problems and how they subverted the system. And I know the system because I worked with it in Maricopa for like 3 or 4 cycles.
And all this is super wonky and super technical, what you're talking about, but you know it and understand it.
Totally.
Does Brad know it and understand it?
Yeah.
Does the guy that's been there 10 years know and understand it?
Oh, like the better than me.
Right.
He was hired by Brian Crane, this guy.
Okay.
And this is not the first time I caught him playing around.
When was the last time?
On the Sunnyside election, I monitored that one. I filmed it. And they
Which was
did a
recall.
backup of the database after they did the logic and accuracy, and they closed the program and then went fishing for another program.
Isn't this Brad Nelson's job to be watching this?
Yes.
He did.
Not
You watched him hack it.
And then reporting it? No, you go back in behind the locked door and talk with the voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Just asking.
Well, thank you,
I have
Ed.
a question here.
Yeah.
And that is, where can we get that video, the fatal flaw?
Fatally flawed.
Fatally flawed. You can go to our site, which is riggednomore.com, and there's a page on the side of it, and it has the picture of Fatally Flawed. And you click on that, I believe, and you can contact the
it's
producer.
fascinating. I read your depositions where you've got the guy that was at Boondocks and said he flipped it. And I mean, just it really is fascinating to find.
Watching Chuck under oath is pretty fun on that. too.
Yeah.
So here's the question for you: what happens next?
Well, I filed this morning a document with the Secretary of State. I'm asking him to intervene and meet with us.
And they have been receptive. Michele Reagan, she wrote letters. She's talking.
I can't say enough good things about them intervening last week and proving to Chuck Huckleberry that verifying elections is not a crime. Because it was.
So Oro Valley Council voted also to.
I was up there yesterday, and that was a real bizarre one. Yes.
Explain that real quick.
Well, if you read what they put through as a motion, that they want to be held harmless. First off, 4 of them were not going to show up, and they were going to boycott. That way they couldn't have a quorum. That was the original intent.
Oh, Satish, Mary Snyder, Lou Waters, and Joe Hornat were going to originally not show up?
Yeah. And their lawyer is
Tobin.
Is advising them that verifying elections is a crime and that the Secretary of State and the Attorney General are wrong, and they're asking to be held harmless in case something goes wrong. And by the way, even if you do count it, it doesn't count. That's what they say.
So we're running out of time here, guys. Think of these Iraqi women that put their finger in the blue ink and hold it up for the right to vote and the right for an honest election. I mean, that's why this is so incredibly important that you're the watchdog on it.
And that's why people, please go out and vote.
Yeah.
Okay? If this doesn't motivate you by the work of a lot of people, just not locally, nationally, vote. And vote at a precinct. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks, John Brakey. Keep doing what you're doing, buddy. You're the only one on that wall, or one of the few people on that wall.
Yes.
So Wake Up Tucson, 10:30 The Voice. Triple D coming up next.
Intelligent Talk 24/7. AM 1030, KVOI, Cortero, Tucson. On the web at kvoi.com.